It's
No,
great to
it's
see
all
you,
love,
man.
man. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for
Man,
inviting me, man.
it's good to have you here, man. I asked Sam Pittman about you earlier this week during SEC Media Days, and it was almost as if he stopped in his tracks. He was moving in between rooms, and I asked him if he had a message for Coach Brad Davis, and he stopped and looked at me and kind of as almost if he wanted to approach that he was talking about a son. You know what I mean? It was almost as if he teared up.
Yeah.
He talked about offering you that scholarship out of Bel Air to Oklahoma, and then obviously you being on his staff numerous times. What does he mean to you?
I love him. Honestly, I don't have many regrets professionally. The hardest thing I had to do, as a professional, was to tell him I was leaving to come home, and I know he's happy for me, but it hurts because I didn't get a chance to see it through with him. It's funny. He gave me an opportunity out of high school. He believed in me, which is huge in itself. But initially, when I wanted to get into coaching, he was so groundbreaking, and I don't think people even understand what Sam Pittman has done for college football. When I was at Texas A&M, I was a graduate assistant, and I worked with the defensive line. So we had Von Miller, Michael Bennett. I mean, we had some elite players, and I wanted to pursue that because I thought I would have a chance of making it per se in that realm. And Coach Pittman said the market's saturated with guys who look like you in the D-line world. The offensive line world doesn't have anybody who looks like you. He said, so if you can be patient and come learn from me and allow me to help you, I'll make sure that, you'll get your shot and you're going to be ready. And so he invested in me, taught me everything I know, coaching, recruiting, player management, just how to be a football coach. And everything I have and everything I am today is because he believed in me. And so, in our time together at Arkansas, we poured everything into it. You can see, obviously what they've done there. And the crazy thing is COVID happened. And, during that time, I worried about my parents every day. I was scared that they would, something would happen and I wouldn't be home to help, be with them. And so when this opportunity presented itself, I had to jump on. It was something for me that I would have regretted not coming home to LSU and having something happen to my parents or something like that. But man, look at him in the eye and the pain and discomfort I caused him. Probably the most regretful thing I've ever done professionally as a coach. I left behind some good kids. And let me say this, I'm damn happy to be at LSU, so I don't want to make this a sob story about Arkansas and that kind of stuff. But Coach Pittman, I can't even put into words what he means to me. I miss him, I love him, and I hope in time that he will accept me back into his life.
Well, I can tell you that just by judging on his instant reaction, you can tell on what you mean to him. Because I was going to follow up with, there's probably only one school that you would have.
This is it.
This is it, right?
In the time I was at Arkansas, let me just say, the perennial powerhouses in the SEC, I got offered those jobs. I've been offered, jobs at schools that have won the national championships in the last 4 or 5. I've been offered those. Sure. And again, I'm not saying that to be, pretentious. It's just what it is.
Yeah. That's the value in your name right now.
Sure. Well, yeah, and a lot of it's because I'm associated with Coach Pittman, because I think a lot of people understand that he groomed me for this role. So I've been an extremely loyal person really my whole career, and I think that's also paid huge dividends. But I had to come home, man.
Can you explain the challenge of what last year was like for you personally? The timing of you taking the job was so unideal in the college football world as far as just the schedule, when I believe you got announced and the day after that the camp began for Summers, as if like the evaluating process was just supposed to happen, right? Can you tell me what the last year has been like for you?
I'll tell you what, I'll put it in perspective. My wife and I right now are hanging pictures in our house. So we got here last June, and today and yesterday, my wife and I have been hanging pictures. So we never really unpacked. We got here, and got right into the meat of things with trying to build relationships with our players, learning a system, and so that I could actually teach it, and I had to really know what my players knew first. What I attempted to do was to try to keep things as consistent as I could for my players. I didn't want to come in and completely change terminology and vernacular and those things. And so what I did was I tried to adapt what I knew into what they knew, and then make tweaks when I felt it appropriate. And so there were some growing pains for sure, because we had an older group in particular who were used to doing things kind of their way, and I got in and I challenged them. You know, I think that, you know, there was a little bit of complacency. I think there were still some remnants of guys still being drunk from the national championship.
Yeah.
You know, and so people just assuming you'd show up and it just happens because you played LSU. And so I had to really try to coach that out of the group per se. And so then obviously, you know, the first game my mom and dad came to ever at LSU in Tiger Stadium was the Florida game. So we broke a school rushing record.
Wow.
You know, and,
Cool,
and man, it was like, man, I'm telling you, man, it was a perfect sunny day.
It was.
There wasn't a cloud in the sky. You know, LSU was running the football like they're supposed to. Life's good. And the next morning, you know, we found out on the radio we got canned. You know, and so I'm like, you talk about probably the biggest gut punch. I'm like, wait a minute, man. We just broke a school rushing record. Ty Davis-Price had one of the best games of his career.
He did. The best.
And then, you know, you find out about 9 a.m. like, I don't know if I'm gonna have health insurance next year.
Wow.
You know, so man, I tell you what, it was hard. You know, we tried to hold it all together. Coach O did a hell of a job of being invested. He didn't. I'll say this to his credit. He showed up every day and he worked. You know, and you know, I think that says an awful lot about him and his love for LSU and our players for that matter. He showed up every day and he went to work. The results, obviously, you know, trying to hold it all together, it was tough. And so, you know, coaching, you know, the last half of the season, not knowing if you have a job, you know, you got everyone who's kind of looking, you know, to what the next step is in their career and those things. It was difficult, but at the same time, we made it about the players. You know, we wanted to pour into those guys, those kids, man. I tell you what, Damone Clark, man, I tell you what, wow. All I can say is wow. You talking about a kid that's going to be a leader, you know, and even outside of football.
Sure, in anything he does.
He took over the locker room and held that group accountable, held those guys together, made them go to work every day. We practiced, we competed, you know, like every day like we were still, you know, in it per se. And so then it wrapped up. You know, we won the last game against A&M. It was awesome to send our seniors, you know, their last game, you know, in Death Valley. They got a chance to win. And so the emotions of that were unbelievable. And, you know, at that point, Coach O, you know, handed over the keys and gave me the opportunity to lead the team in the bowl game. So, you know, it was tumultuous. It was adverse. My faith was tested. I can promise you that.
I bet.
But the entire time, man, you know, I held true to what I believe. You know, in terms of my faith and that, you know, God didn't bring me here to fail. I believe that. And so I knew it somehow, some way this was going to work out, you know, in some capacity for me and my family. And so, you know, we turned the page. You know, Coach Kelly's here, you know, and I couldn't be happier, you know.
I didn't know you, but I was proud of you because you were from Baton Rouge and getting the opportunity to be the head coach of the LSU Tigers. There were a lot of special meanings to that night. I know, what did that night mean to you? What did that, I guess, that 3-week period mean to you?
You know what? It was an honor, to say the least. It was an honor. Man, I'm a nobody from nowhere, man. You know what I mean? Like I don't come from you know, a family of coaches and this long history of people who've, you know, gone on and done these kind of things. My parents worked. You know, my family, we you know, we hustled, man. We worked. We did everything we could to, you know, provide and put food on the table. That's what I saw from my parents. And so for them to have the opportunity to see me in that on, you know, in that role, you know, on that platform, it was awesome, man. I can't even put it to words. You know, just to see your mom and dad proud of you, you know, and to feel like everything they did in their life, it had some meaning, you know. And so it really was more so about them. You know, I really didn't process it all until really it was all said and done.
Sure.
My message to the team was we wanted to keep it about the players. I wanted to try to just, you know, take out all the distractions. You know, they were hearing all the stuff, you know, hey, it's going to be this head coach, that guy. You know, it was a million, you know, just different, you know, articles or messages going around about who's going to be their leader. And so, that, you know, I wanted to make them, you know, stay focused on, man, let's play football. Let's get better. Let's go focus on our craft and go out there and compete one last time, you know. And so, man, we were beat up. We didn't, you know, every day there was, you know, a player either opting out here or there, or there was someone injured, or, you know. And so we went out there with a ragtag bunch per se, and we tried to put some life into them.
Sure.
You know, we had coaches who were kind of in and out, you know, and so, you know, offensively, we coached the staff with pretty much GAs and analysts. And it was a great opportunity for those guys, you know, to go coach on that stage. And you know, we had kids, you know, I remember, you know, Pig Cage, you know, was a walk-on player for us, and he got his chance to start. And I can just remember, just seeing that emotion in that kid for his chance to go run out there and wear an LSU jersey and to play. So it was so many. There's so many.
John Trey Kirkland playing quarterback.
That's right. Watching him. I mean, that kid just coming to life. You're talking about just a kid that really represents LSU through and through. Yeah. I mean, his career had not gone where he probably thought it would, and for him to finish it that way. Kid threw, I think, 3 touchdowns or so, so no one can ever take that from him. Right. So it was a special moment. I'm blessed to have been, allowed to be in that role. And it's really just a testament to what God can do. So I'm blessed now. Look, here's reality. For me, it's, I'm focused now really on just results. I want to win. Mm-hmm. I think that, the feel-good part of it, for me, it's kind of run its course. I'm glad to be here. But I want to be known for now being an unbelievable offensive line coach. I don't want to be just the guy that's from Baton Rouge.
No doubt.
And so, I'm looking forward to, turning the page and having my group play at a high level.
I think you being retained on the staff almost certifies that to the public of your reputation as an offensive line coach and not the fact that you were here. Brian Kelly came in here and brought his group in. He's brought the whole football department looks different in under his direction. What was that time period like for you? And then when did you know that you were going to be on the staff and hit the ground running? And what has BK meant to kind of work for here on the first 6 months?
What was it like? Let's see. It was probably, if you guys can remember, probably your first day in high school as a freshman.
Oof.
You know what I mean? That's what it's like.
Head on a swivel.
Well, you see all the cool kids at the big table, and here I am. I'm like trying to make friends. So honestly, it was. They were welcoming. They were trying to figure it out. These guys, they come in and there's we got to recruit, number one. Number two, we got to recruit our own team. There's people that are going after players on our roster, and so trying to hold our team together. There's some of our elite players. I mean, everybody wanted them, and so recruiting our own roster. Obviously, coach was trying to put together a staff. And so, for me, I wanted to try to take as much off his plate as I could, in the role that I was in. As it pertained to him retaining me, I had no idea. I just went to work. I wanted to show up and be a pro, and show him obviously what I was capable of, and then obviously he would be able to make a decision, based on what his needs were. When did he tell me? We went. I guess I can say it now. Being the kids signed, we went to Catholic High School to see Emory Jones, and Coach got a chance to just watch me recruit the kid. And Emory and I had a relationship. I was going to get Emory at Arkansas. People don't know that was happening. So
Coach, he went on his official the weekend you were announced.
That's right. So his mother and I had a great relationship. Actually, we had we actually grew up in the same part of town, and so it was really a close relationship. And so, I went and recruited the kid, and what I told him, and this is gospel truth, I said, for you, LSU is the best opportunity. Whether I'm here or not, you should go to LSU and go make a difference there. You'll be an impact player. You'll build your brand and your name in the state of Louisiana, and people will remember you forever. And so the kid said, Coach, I'm going to go to LSU. And whether I'm there or not, I said, I'll end up somewhere. I don't know where. But we were going to go meet his mother, and we were getting ready to have coffee at a little coffee shop, and Coach just, we were sitting there making small talk, and then he just said, hey, if you're okay with it, I'm gonna keep you here on the staff. And man, I might have cracked every rib in his body. I hugged him so hard, man. And
that's a great story.
It's amazing. It is, man. And he didn't have to. Coach Kelly didn't have to, to keep me. This job is so attractive to. Every coach in the country. It's a who's who job. He can have any coach he wanted, and yet he believed in me. And so my loyalty to him, my willingness to go the distance for him, he'll never question that. I'm going to do everything I can to help LSU win, multiple national championships.
Your reputation is that you are a dominant recruiter, and you are a extremely good on the field developer. When you go to evaluate a kid, I know that you just were able to get an offensive line commitment from a guy that hadn't played a lot of football but projects to be a really high-end player. When you go to evaluate an offensive lineman, what qualities are you looking for?
You know what? I think every coach would tell you that he's probably looking for a piece of himself in a kid, honestly. And so obviously you look for measurables. You have to have a certain body type to play in the SEC. And so, you eliminate guys really, off the bat just from that part of it. But from there, you look for movement skills, guys that you can bend, guys who have short area body quickness, explosiveness, if you will. And so then when you get a big pile of those guys, you start looking for the traits that separate them. Number one, how important is academics to the kid? What's his character? What's his home situation? What has he seen growing up that's going to allow him to come here and have success? Because, at this level, everybody's good, man. Mm-hmm. And that's what I try to explain this to kids all the time. It's like, yeah, you're the best player on your team at your school, but every person in this league was you. And so what's going to separate you from the pack? And so what ends up happening with big men in particular, the thing you always get worried of is you got big kids that have had success because they're big. Big beats little all the time, right? And so, but a lot of kids don't have a work ethic to boot. You know what I mean? And so they get to college, they get punched in the mouth by another big kid, and then they don't know how to respond. It's because they've only relied on their talent. And so there has to be an element where a kid has a desire to grow. There has to be an element where a kid, has a fighting spirit. He's got a iron will. He ain't going to be comfortable taking an ass whipping. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so you try to identify those things in the recruiting process, because reality is it doesn't matter how good you are. I mean, shoot, man, you playing against Bama, Georgia, some of these teams out there, man, they got great players too. There's going to be a time or two where you're going to get beaten. How do you respond to that? Yeah. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter how hard you've worked, how well you've been coached. You're going to make a mistake. And so how do you come back from that? And so I'll tell you, the kids we brought in this past year on the offensive line, Will Campbell, Emory Jones, Fitz West. I mean, it's an unbelievable group of guys. Bo Bordelon. I mean, we're talking about just really tough human beings, talented as well, but really, really tough human beings.
So the one thing that everybody heard about Campbell was that he was dominant during spring, but then the guys that were telling you kind of inside of the program what you guys loved about it was after he'd get beat, the ability to bounce back the next play.
That's right.
What did you see from Campbell in the 15 practices?
I mean, shoot, he if he made a mistake, he got beat. It bothered him, and I like that about him. I don't want a kid to be okay with, well, it's part of the game. I made a mistake. Like, nah, man. He holds himself to a standard. Mm-hmm. And what he did was he elevated everyone around him. Right. I put him with the third team, the first week of practice, and it took about a week before he worked himself into the first team. I mean, it just his effort. Talent. Don't get me wrong. He's talented as the day is long. But it's a level of toughness. To date, just so people know this, since he's been here in January, anytime I've ever had a position meeting, a meeting prior to practice or anything we've done this summer, he is always the first offensive lineman in my room. Wow. He takes pride in it. And so if there's a kid come in 15 minutes early, he's going to show up 20 minutes early. I don't know what his parents taught him as a youngster, but he has, that. Mm-hmm. And you don't really know how to define it. It's just that, mm-hmm. And so, man, he's going to be a star, man. He's making the room better. He has already elevated the room.
Wow.
Guys have to now live up to his standard. And so the strength in our unit right now really is in our young players. If I can hit a home run with this next class, which I will, I think the future's going to be bright.
Hell yeah, he will. Emory Jones has the same traits, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's a kid that's dealt with a ton of adversity. Lost his father at a young age, his mom, Tanika, hard-working woman. Raised their family and with a ton of pride, and so, here's a kid that has struggled, with things in his real life, but really has allowed football to be his saving grace, and so just a kid that is just tough as an old leather boot, man. I mean, just got grit in his graw and, mm-hmm. Is a fighter, and so it's just amazing. Again, there's so many during this recruiting process, and you guys can go back and do a 5-10 year study of all these elite 4 or 5-star kids that you just never hear from again. They get all this recruiting hype and the whole world promised to them, and then they get to college and they just fizzle out. These two guys won't be that, and it's because of what's inside of them. It isn't just their talent. Yeah. They got they're made up of the right stuff, man. They're Louisiana kids, man. I don't know how to explain it. They're from here. You know what I mean?
He pummeled that defensive end from Jesuit that night at the state champ. That kid wanted absolutely nothing to do to him after the first quarter. How do you evaluate your room coming out of spring? How do you look at the entire room? You got a collection of transfers. Yep. You got a collection of incoming really good players, and then you got some guys coming back that they feel like if they're on this development plan, they're set to play.
You know what? It's a completely different room from last year. We turned the page. There's a growth mindset in our room, which I'm happy about. There's when we go in our room, it's a professional atmosphere. It's a classroom. Our guys are taking notes. Our guys are studying film. They're asking the right questions. They're engaged. There's no complacency because you ain't allowed to be. Because for the first time, since I've been here, you go out there and you screw it up, you're not prepared, somebody behind you is going to take your job, and so I wanted to create a competitive atmosphere, much like what the NFL does. In the NFL, they'll bring 15 kids, I say kids, 15 players into camp, and only 8 or 9 are going to make the team, and so you got 6 chairs in there that ain't going to be filled, when the season starts. And so every day you got to bring it. You want to make that roster. You want to be a professional football player. You have to show up to work every day. Mm-hmm. And so I want that mindset in our room here at LSU. I think we have a lot. Every player in our room, they absolutely love being an LSU Tiger. I mean, it's real cool to go out there and run out that tunnel in Death Valley with a Tiger jersey on, and hang out in Tigerland, and hang and tell people you're an LSU Tiger.
Sure.
But I want guys that want to earn it and want to pay the price to go out there and enjoy that part of it. So we've created a competitive atmosphere. Again, I think we enhanced that by bringing in the right young players. But right now, our thought process. I told our guys there ain't a starter coming out of spring ball. You go home and tell your mom and dad you're a starter, you're lying to them. You ain't. I don't care if you're a senior. I don't care how many years you've been here, how many games you've played. The reality is you got to go out there and earn it. And so we're going to, create a competitive atmosphere for our guys in fall camp. I think we're going to get 26, 27 practices, and we can't waste one. I don't care if it's a walkthrough, if it's a mental exercise, whatever it is. I want my guys fully invested, fully engaged, and going all in, to go out there and improve themselves,
How do you evaluate the center position?
I think we got a group of guys right now that have been training at that position. I want to the center position for us. That guy has to be one of the smartest guys, if not the smartest guy in our room. And so we have a couple candidates right now. Marlon Martinez, who's coming off an injury. Charles Turner, Fitz West actually had an unbelievable spring as a young player.
Another true freshman.
That's right. And so we're trying to bridge that gap with him from a mental standpoint, but from a physical standpoint, he may be one of the best. Garrett Dellinger, we've had him snapping as well. He's been somewhat of a utility guy for us. He started at guard, tackle, tight end for us last year, and so now we're teaching him to snap, and so he has that ability. And so we're going to have a solid depth chart at the center position. And I don't expect it to be an issue. I don't.
Xavier Hill came through here a couple of weeks back. He came in and looked like his confidence and his mentality has shifted under your direction. It seems like he's had a great opportunity coming out of spring.
I'm proud of him. I am. And he he dug himself into a little bit of a hole, not making great decisions and taking care of business. And he can acknowledge that. He that's not saying anything that's negative. But what he has done is he got a new shot at life per se, with the new coaching staff coming in, and he wants to make good on it. I'm just telling you, this kid is super talented.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got freakish traits.
He's strong as an ox.
He's strong. He's twitchy. He's incredibly intelligent. And just sometimes makes bonehead decisions.
Sure.
Like
Young,
any kid. But
right?
Yep, he is. But. Man, he's come light years, and so what he has to do now is he's working on earning the trust of his coaching staff.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's one thing, he's made improvements and he's closed some of the distance, but he's still got to keep going, and so he had his best semester of college last semester. I mean, the kid, made over a 3.0 GPA, and addressed really any doubts that there were about his willingness to go all in, So the thing that he has to understand is, once you set that bar now, that's the standard, So there ain't no deviating. You don't get to go backwards now, And so I think he had to acknowledge that, I can do this, and life's a lot easier if you're doing the right things.
Tremon Schwartz and Miles Frazier came through here as well. How did your transfer guys fit into your room and onto the field?
Sure, they were exactly what we needed. There were 2 guys who came here with a thought process and mindset on playing. And immediately, the guys who were returning on the roster started looking around like, oh, these guys, well, I thought I was going to be the guy. I was like, no, brother, I'm going to recruit. You know what I mean? I'm going to bring. There ain't ever going to be a time where you're going to be allowed to be comfortable.
Wow.
You know, I told Will Campbell that. I said, Will, as good as you are, I'm going to do everything I can to out-recruit you next year. Yeah. Everything I can. It's my job. Yeah. You know, and so those guys did exactly.
Might want to check his former school.
Well, no, we're working on it. Working real hard on it.
I know that. I know that.
But you know, he those two guys, they came in and they did exactly what I hoped that they would do. They're both smart. Mm-hmm. You know, Tremont in particular, being an older guy, you know, has played a lot of football. You know, he has some maturity. You know, and is a super smart and confident kid. You know, Miles has some youth, but I think he's super talented. And super eager, you know, and I think that's really one of his most redeeming qualities is he's a pleaser. He wants to go out there and excel, and it really means something for him to wear that Tiger jersey.
Yeah. Everybody at Southeastern Conference Media Day is talking about LSU's defensive line.
Oh,
everybody thinks they're going to be just hell to deal with.
I hope they do to people what they did to us in the spring.
I can imagine.
I mean, Mason Smith.
Imagine. How much better do they make you?
Well, I tell you what, it's the best thing that could ever happen, you know, for an offensive lineman is to go out there every day and have to compete against elite and quality players. Because when you get in the game, you know, in an SEC game in particular, it won't be foreign to you. You understand, you know, what it takes mechanically, the effort is required, you know, technique-wise, what it takes to go out and have success, you know, and so. You know, Mason Smith, I'm telling you, man, he makes us better. B.J. Ojulari, I mean, you're talking about a kid that is as elite as anyone in our league. Yeah. You know, J. Roy, you know, really watching him grow, his confidence. You know, he sees himself as a dude now. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so he's always had the ability. I don't think he has lived up to it yet, but Coach Kane is really bringing it out of those guys. They got an edge to them. I think that our O-line has to catch up. They've got a little bit of an edge, a little bit nasty to them. They walk around, you know, like they got the big stick. You know what I mean? And so I'm trying to elevate our offensive line that way. I want our guys to, you know, when we walk in a room, people need to know, like, hey, that's the LSU O-line. Get out the way.
Does it matter who plays quarterback, how you play?
Yeah, it matters, yeah.
It does?
Let me say this. We're going to block. It doesn't matter who's back there.
Right.
We're going.
And that's kind of the premise of it.
That's right. No, we're going to line up, run the football. You know, we're going to protect the quarterback. How does, I guess the better question for people is how does, you know, who's playing quarterback, how does it affect, you know, the play of the offensive line? Number one, the communication aspect of it, I think people don't take that into account. People just assume you can go out there and say set HUD and it just happens, and it doesn't. There's a communication element where, you know, the offensive line has to be comfortable with a quarterback's cadence, his vocal commands, and just his poise. He gives people confidence. You know, that guy is the leader. He makes things go. I think the second part of it is this, you know, particularly in pass protection, you know, you have to trust that guy's going to get the ball out. He's got to be able to maneuver in the pocket. He's got to have confidence in the guys up front. You know, if you start getting guys back there that start feeling the pass rush or start, you know, looking around, get squeamish, it just looks bad, you know. And so, you know, we've got some slippery guys back there, got some maneuverability, you know, guys that can probably extend plays, you know what I mean, and avoid pressure. And so those things help us. But, you know, it matters for sure. Yeah. It does.
You got good competition at that spot.
I've never seen nothing like it any place I've been where there's not a clear cut, you know, just one, you know, and so that's a good problem to have. I tell you, whoever, you know, Coach Kelly and Coach Sloan, whoever they come up with to be the one, man, we're going to be all in on them because they will have earned it.
Yeah. Mike Dembrock seems like he's got a great personality to work for, but a very creative mind offensively. What's it been like to work alongside him?
He's a man's man. I love working with him. You know, he's an O-line guy, you know, by trade, and so I think that he understands the importance of, you know, the offensive line performing well, but also putting those guys in position to allow them to play well. You know, there's certain things at times where, you know, if we ain't protecting well, then you probably shouldn't drop back, you know, and ask them to do something they hadn't been doing well. Sure. You know, if we, you know, but it also lends to playing into our strengths. You know, I think we got better at running the football, you know, and at times maybe should have emphasized it more. And I think Coach Dembrock would do that. But the environment he creates for the staff, you know, is one where we're allowed to be creative. He wants your input. There is no ego. There's nobody that's out there trying to one up the other guy or trying to, be anything more than what we are. I think we got a really great collection of coaches, with Coach Hankton, Coach Wilson, Coach Sloan. I mean, it's a group of guys that all we want to do is win, man. It means something for every one of us to be at LSU. There's zero question about our investment. There's nobody looking around for the next opportunity or, hey, I'm hoping to use this as a platform all we want to do is win national championship. And it's so refreshing to be with a group of guys that are all in on LSU, man. It's really cool.
It is easy to see why you were a great recruiter. Why do you love that part of the sport so much?
I tell you what.
Do you have to? Do you have to love it?
If you want to be good at it, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
It's building relationships. Look, we get paid a lot of money to do what we do, and so I get that. It's public, so I guess I better not act like I don't.
Right.
But let me say this. My first probably 10, 12 years in college football, I didn't make a penny, and that's true. That's the gospel truth.
Mm-hmm.
Building relationships is the most gratifying part of this job. Watching young men come in and chase their dreams, to put the work ethic in and then really achieve that next step in their life, whatever that may be, whether it's professional football, whether it's getting into graduate school, whether it's, starting a career, getting married, having kids, and as a coach, being able to pour, what we have, really throughout our life, and pour it into young men and watching them grow, man, it transcends anything financially that you could ever, receive, from the game. And so, man, I love it. I love going and meeting kids, learning their story, meeting their parents. And recruiting is really, really easy when you believe in what you're selling.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that LSU is the best school in the country. I don't think there's a better city. I don't think there's a better game day atmosphere. I don't think there's a better learning environment that you can go to in the country than what's right here in Baton Rouge. And so we have an unbelievable campus. It's just diverse. Everyone here is committed and devoted to LSU. I don't see why you feel like you want to go anywhere else. The other part is that's different now, than when I was growing up is you come to LSU and you really believe that you're going to win a national championship. That's the expectation. You shouldn't, you don't have to go to, Bama or Georgia, Ohio State to feel like you're going to compete for a championship. You come to LSU and you can get that done. That is the expectation. I think, Scott and our athletic department have poured in, all the resources to make that a reality, and so that is our expectation. I came to LSU to win a national championship. Honestly, I think for me, I wouldn't have left for any other job. I came here because I believed that I could accomplish every one of my professional goals here at LSU, and it happened to be home.
Loaded question to ask a coach, but who's the best player you've ever coached?
Cornelius Edison, without a question. He and he was an FCS player at Portland State. He's from Stadium, Washington. I imagine most people down here don't know where that is. He had 2 scholarship offers out of high school. One was to Portland State and one was to Eastern Washington University.
Wow.
And he's one of 2 kids to ever start for me as a true freshman. He may be probably the toughest human being I've ever coached in my life. Long story short, he went on to be an All-American. He won the Remington Award. He played maybe 6 years in the NFL. As just a 1AA player. But I'll tell you, at places I've been, Florida, Arkansas, Missouri, LSU, I mean, he'd come to LSU here and he'd be a player for us right now. There's not even no question about it. So he hands down is the most talented player I've ever coached in my life. I have sought in my recruiting to try to emulate, what he and I've had. And I talk to this kid, all the time. He's married now, got twins. He owns his own gym up in Oregon, of all places, believe it or not. And he's done really well for himself. And so he's a kid that came in, bought in, used football to take that next step in his life. And I couldn't be more proud of him. So
if you have not read what you accomplished while at Portland State with the run game, I think, is that where you fell in love with coaching? Just kind of reading what you were able to do there, taking football to that part of the and being so dominant. It kind of, when reading what you accomplished there, it kind of made me think, I bet that's where he fell in love with just, I'm good at this.
You know what? I'll say this. The success we had at Portland State, it definitely reaffirmed the things I believe in. But the truth of the matter is, look, and you know, this probably be an unpopular statement, but man, coaching's overrated. It really is. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to go out there and run inside zone. It doesn't. Here's where the magic happens: is taking a group of kids, you know, from all different backgrounds, different experiences, what have you, and number one, making winning important to them, especially when we live in a day and age where there's nothing but selfishness around us. Everybody wants to be the guy. Everybody wants all the stuff. You know what I mean? And so taking a group of guys and asking them to be selfless, asking them to go put their bodies on the line every day and compete, asking guys to be invested in a position and in a unit, you know, even when they don't get the credit or the glory for it. You know, there ain't a ton of people beating down the door to hear the backup left guard tell you his story.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But yet that guy's so important to our success. And so to me, that's where the magic happens in an offensive line room, is when you can get a group of guys to be highly invested in their craft, you know, get a group of guys to truly be devoted to one another and being able to give more of themselves than they thought they were capable of doing. And so that part of the process I'm in love with. Whatever has happened, good or bad, on the field with the offensive line, it's been a byproduct of what I've either taught to happen or allowed to happen. And so there's been some really, really good highlights and things that I'm very proud of. There's been some lowlights and things I wish I could go back and do again and prepare my unit to be better. But, you know, I take it all in stride. You know, one thing about it is, you know, I want to create an environment for my players where they're excited to come and go to work every day. You know, and what I think we're doing a good job of at LSU right now is we're bringing kids in that love LSU. Yeah. You know, and that's that to me is the biggest piece of it all. When you feel like you get to go to work, right? I'm excited to go to practice today. We're competing for a national championship. We get to go play in Death Valley in front of the, you know, best fan base in the country. You know, that is to me what's going to separate us.
You are one in a list of staffers that have come through here that feel like just a great person. You know, it feels like you've got a lot of good people that you work alongside and that you all get along with one another. I'd imagine that's pretty tough to do when you're rebuilding something with so many alpha personalities like in college football coaching. What do you make of just the work environment and the staff that you go to work with every day?
Well, you know, Coach Kelly sets the tone, and I think that's the biggest piece. Is number one, he doesn't have an ego. With all the success he's had, you know, as a football coach, he's approachable. You know, and you see him go to work. And so to me, you know, when he sets the tone and the expectation level for the staff, it's really not hard for us to really just fall in line per se, you know. But there, like I said, with our staff, you know, there isn't any egos. There isn't anybody that's an opportunist, you know, or looking for that next step. You know, and I've been places where that's not been the case.
I'd imagine. You
know, where it's guys that are, man, this is a stepping stone, or man, I'm above this place, or hey, I've been, you know, XYZ and this, you know, whatever. Everybody that's here genuinely wants to be here. I think everybody that's here has bought into the culture, you know, of LSU and Louisiana for that matter. You know, you got to think when you start getting to know this staff, there's not a lot of people that are, you know, from Louisiana.
Right.
And so it's really been cool to watch these guys, you know, just trying to peel a crawfish, you know, and the excitement they get about saying, man, I've seen this my whole, you know, peeling crawfish or, you know, talking about how to make a roux, you know, for gumbo, you know, and so we talked to the ladies down there in the training table, and they talked to the guys about, you know, the ingredients, you know, a Gulf shrimp. I understand some people don't understand a Gulf shrimp from just a regular shrimp,
Absolutely.
man. You know what I mean? And so there's so many just little things that these guys have all really just embraced about Louisiana culture, and it just feels right, you know. Going to work every day, it just feels right.
This thing's about to ratchet up, huh? I mean, you got about another week off.
You know, I never really. My wife, we didn't go anywhere this summer. I stuck around. You know, I feel like we got a shot to be pretty good on the offensive line this year, and I didn't. Man, you know what? We'll go on vacation next year. I wanted to stick around and work with my guys. We also got some young guys that I didn't feel like we could afford to take too much time away from them. You know, we're going to need some of these young guys to play. And so, but yeah, it's getting ready to turn up for sure.
How difficult is the transition for a guy like Will and Emery, who I know I have the expectation that they're at some point going to be starters for you at some point early on.
Yep.
From their head coach's standpoint, what's the expectation for them?
You know what? I think it's just to get better every day. You know, I don't want to set unrealistic expectations for those guys. at the same time, I don't want to lower the expectation either. You know, those guys came here because they wanted to play. And so I want to be clear about that. But at the same time, I think it's to get better every day. You know, those guys are highly capable of going out there and performing, you know, at a championship level for us. And yet, you know, we've got to set a tone where they can't be complacent or satisfied. You know, there's going to be good days and bad days, man. Look, it's going to be hot out there. Yeah. You know, it's going to be a lot of, you know, things that they have to deal with, muscle fatigue, soreness, you know, just you know, shoot, man, just cabin fever, right? Just being confined to just football, you know, for about a month. And so that'll be my job, to keep it fresh, keep it exciting, fun, you know, create a great learning environment for our guys where they're excited to come to work.
Welcome home, man.
Man, I couldn't be more grateful, man.
But
I'm blessed.
As a fellow Baton Rougean, congratulations on everything, and it's cool to pull for you and see you wearing the purple and gold, man. Looks like it fits great.
Well, it does, and I tell you what, I'm the most blessed coach in college football, man. And you know, like I said, I'm blessed to be home. We're gonna be working our tail off, man. We want to hoist that trophy again. It's been a couple years, but it doesn't feel right watching other people do it, man. We need to bring it home again.
You've been to Oklahoma, you've been to Arkansas, you've been to Florida. I mean, the LSU job, just from a coaching standpoint, there's only one school that's won this thing under 3 coaches in 20 years. What is the feeling of the LSU job just in the coaching fraternity?
It's the best job in the country. I mean, honest, and I'm not saying that because I'm here. It truly is. I think that when you the name LSU, you know, what it's associated with, you know, with just its game day experience, its fan base. You look at some of the best players in the NFL right now, you know, and what they're going out there and doing, and they're all LSU. I mean, they go out there and they represent LSU. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's for as good as Odell Beckham is, or, you know, the Honey Badger, or, you know what I mean? You think of Justin Jefferson. You see all these guys out there just, you know, balling, and they're associated with LSU, you know, and it means something, you know, and people feel that. And so even if you're not from here, you just say, man, there's something in the water down in Louisiana, man. These kids, they love football. They go out, they represent, and they play well. So it's the best job in the country, man, hands down.
Is there a debate on that in recruiting in the walls? Because y'all have had so much success nationally over the last couple of weeks. But, I mean, I think everybody recognizes Louisiana is just bred differently. Yeah. The mentality is just a little different.
That's right.
What's the fine line in recruiting on that?
If it's close, you take the kid from home, and it's, you know, there's talent everywhere. There's no question about that. But to me, I know for me, I'm particularly biased. Obviously, being from here, and having kids, you know, seeing, you know, where guys come from and how they are raised in this state, I'm biased, man. If I could, you know, and I don't want to hurt. Hopefully, this don't hurt me in recruiting. But if I had my druthers, man, I'd take guys just from this state, man. Honestly, because I don't believe there's people out there that are raised tougher than us. Yeah, you know.
And I know that the people over in Georgia at SEC Media Days knows that you just got a diamond out of their state.
Yeah.
Real quick, before I get you out of here, some listeners want to know just about some guys that have been there. Charles Turner, Anthony Bradford, on just their development, on where they are.
Doing really well. You know, Charles came off of a shoulder surgery, so he missed spring ball, and so really just getting him back, you know, back to full health. Got to get stronger. You know, he's not there yet, but I think you know, he's putting the work in. Really smart player, really tough. Anthony Bradford, you know, getting things back in order, you know, just in his day-to-day life. Very, very proud of the growth he made in this offseason, particularly in the classroom. I think that's something that people don't talk about, but watching this kid change his life by truly investing in himself, going all in on his education and handling his business. He's going to be a star. He's going. You know, there's a chance he may come out this year. It's you know, it's a goal of his, and so, you know, we're not going to, you know, shy away from talking about it. But he knows what's at stake. He has to have a great year, and I think he will.
Coach, it's great to see you in the purple and gold, man. Sorry for the address mix-up.
Oh man, you kidding me? Come on, man. We're all good.
This is awesome this morning.
Appreciate you, bro.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, guys.
Offensive line coach Brad Davis will be right back with more of the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Ghost Chevrolet.